Pokemon cards in 2023 are dying. Or are they? If you search YouTube right now, there will be hundreds of videos out there detailing why Pokemon cards are no longer fun, why it's dying off, and what the problem is with all of it. There's some really good content creators out there that have some really great videos talking about the subject. A couple of the ones that I watched that really hit home with me were the ones from J-Love and Rock Sandy. And even one from Pokevault was really good. And I think there's a lot of truth to what they're saying, but I also think that it's a perspective thing for a lot of people who are trying to collect. And to put it in the terms that J-Love put it in, it's really Pokemon correcting itself, and the people who've gone into the TCG space are now back to the core original collectors. It sounds kind of weird when you're hearing it first glance, up front from somebody like me, but let me explain for a minute here. Anywhere you go right now in 2023, at the end of the year, you can go to any store, walk in there. If they have cards, if they sell Pokemon cards, there's likely going to be a large section of what looks like untouched Pokemon cards. There's going to be boxes all over the place, booster packs, blister packs, you name it. They're likely sitting on the shelf, some of them collecting dust, some of them hitting the clearance aisles even. There's just a lot of product around. For some Pokemon collectors, that is what we have kind of dreamt about since the big boom of Pokemon cards in 2020, but for a lot of others, that is a sign of a dying market. But I don't think it's really dying off. I think we're just correcting ourselves as collectors to go back to the core collectors. Those who truly love Pokemon and Pokemon cards for what they are, not really for means of money. So if you go all the way back to 2020 and when really the big boom and the bubble of Pokemon cards started taking off, there was a lot of people who rushed to the scene, who rushed to get cards in terms of investing and flipping and trying to make money off cards, doubling their profits. And even for content creators, it became, what is the top dollar card you could pull? It didn't become about what the cool cards were or like what you personally wanted to collect. It shifted from what you personally liked to how much is that card's worth. Now that's the very obvious answer. The very obvious thing is that obviously in a very tough global financial economy and market, people are going to be spending less. Priorities are going to be shifting. Cards are not at the top of the list anymore. People are having to, cut them down lower and lower. That's all good and well. But people are saying Pokemon TCG is dying in terms of collecting. And I still don't think it's the case, even with everything that's been going on. Because with the mass bubble of people and collectors coming in, Pokemon had to print to demand, print. And products flying off the shelf. People are grabbing everything they can. Evolving Skies, perfect example. Everybody, as soon as a pack hits the shelf, they are rushing to their stores to buy it and hold on to it. And it's gone. Meanwhile, now other sets are less desired and sit on the shelf for a long time because there's no big money card in them. And thus, that's where I say we are kind of correcting ourselves as collectors to go back to the core collectors. Also like what J-Love said in his video, which I do recommend you go watch. All these people that came flooding in to the hobby to collect and to invest and it became all about the money for them, are suddenly finding themselves leaving Pokemon cards and leaving the hobby in search of, another gold mine somewhere else. And those of us who have been collecting because we love the cards, because we love Pokemon, we're the ones who are still remaining. So I think part of why Pokemon cards are dying right now is because of that. There's a mass migration of these people who came and flooded the market, and content creation for that matter as well, are now leaving because there's no more money or they can't make enough money to put back into the means of what they're spending. But if you take the money piece aside, one of the biggest things that I see a lot of collectors complaining about is when it comes to sets. What is there to collect and how much is in each set? Back when I first started collecting back into Pokemon cards, was 2018, 2019 when Team Up was around. I remember going to a Walmart and there was Team Up all over the shelves, and it was easy to find them. And honestly, it's very reminiscent of what Pokemon looks like now. There were card products from XY era, even Black and White era, sitting on the shelves with the Pokemon Sun and Moon era cards. And when you look at things like Team Up, there's a total of 196 cards in the set. Not in counting reverses and all that other good stuff, but just different cards. There's 196 cards in the set. Of that 196, 48 are considered chase cards. When I say chase cards, I mean something higher than just a regular rare or holo rare rarity. So anything that's, your GX cards or better. And that's great. You think 48 out of 196, that's 25% roughly of the set is like your chase. So, if you look at it in terms of what is your hit rate for a booster pack, 1 in 4, then you might get one of those chases out of those 4. It was all about the hunt, which J Love talks about big time in his video. But he's absolutely right. It was about the hunt. People loved that chase. And it's why sets like Cosmic Collision, Hidden Fates, Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, like all these Sun and Moon era sets were so popular and still are to this day. And then you look at new sets like Paradox Rift, which has 266 cards. So it does have more cards overall. But of those 266 cards, 105 of those are considered chase cards. That's Pokemon EX cards and better, also including the illustration and art rare cards, because those are considered chases too. So when you look at them all together, there is more than double the amount of chase cards to go after in these new sets. And that is a big reason I think people are not looking at for why they're feeling this type of collector fatigue or this burnout. Partially why I myself for a while there was feeling it. And when you start to look at it in that light, it kind of puts it more in perspective of why is that a bad thing? Because when you are collecting cards like Pokemon, when you're collecting them, you want the cool cards. You want the cards that are really well done and they're special. And all these cards in sets like Paradox Rift and Obsidian Flames and Paldea Evolved, they have such phenomenal artwork. And it's amazing. I watch, Opossum Bud do his, boo-boo cards of the day, and all these cards, and like even on Instagram, seeing tons of people posting just regular art rare cards, and like they're fantastic. And I'm looking at this Screamtail promo that I got from my Elite Trainer box, and it is beautiful. It is a very well done card. And by any stretch of the imagination and any stretch of like what we used to consider great cards as collectors, this far exceeds what those cards used to be. And yet they are, pennies to the dollar. People are blowing past them left and right. Don't really care about them anymore. It's all about, is there a Charizard in the set, or is there a waifu in the set, or what's the money card, what's the top dollar card? And we've all kind of gotten to that point of how much is it worth versus what's worth collecting to me. And it really took watching some of these videos and kind of like sitting back and kind of looking at my cards and like, why am I getting bored of this? Why am I tired of collecting Pokemon cards? because that's not normal for somebody who really likes collecting. And I collect a bunch of other TCGs as well. I collect and play a lot of TCGs, and I have no issues with them. I love collecting them. I love playing them. And I love playing the Pokemon TCG. That's like the really big kicker for it all is the game. Pokemon TCG is as popular as it's ever been for competitive gameplay. So why is the collecting dying off, and why are people saying that Pokemon TCG is dying, or it's gone, it's already dead? It's perspective. People are still thinking about things and looking at things in terms of value and in terms of money. And people like Opossum Bud have been right there in our faces this whole time, giving us the truth. Hey, it's not about how much it's worth. Do you like the card? Collect it. You think these cards in this set are cool? Collect them. Buy some packs. Rip them open. You are statistically more likely to pull your chase cards in these newer sets in Scarlet and Violet than you ever were in Team Up and in Broken Bonds and Cosmic Collision and all these other sets. Yeah, there's the hunt was what was the big factor for, getting to the hype, getting to the boom of the Pokemon TCG craze in 2020. But the hunt is not gone. It's still there. It's people aren't liking the value associated to these cards anymore. And it's kind of mind-boggling when you sit back and you think about like the collector burnout and why it is, and then you go, I'm not really burnt out on collecting cards. I'm tired of not getting money cards. Or, I'm tired of not getting the top dollar cards. And when you kind of put it in that focus and you shift back to, I want to get my cards. I want to get these chase cards. I like these cards. I want to collect them. Suddenly it's not so bad anymore. And the world isn't so dire and the game isn't dying. And, the lights aren't shutting off on the TCG. It's still there and it's still as great as it's ever been. Our perspectives of what's in the sets have changed. And honestly, just that realization and that mindset kind of opening up to that has already increased my desire to collect all these new sets again. I haven't bought Pokemon cards in quite some time. I've had some that I've, acquired over time and I've just slowly been opening. And there's certain things like the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes for Paradox Rift, for example. Those are the only things up to this point that I've bought for Paradox Rift. And I forgot about them because they were pre-orders. I mean, there's fantastic cards in these sets, and the cards are great, and they're worth collecting. Just go back, change your perspective. Go back and look at the cards. You like them? Collect them. They haven't changed. They've improved. I guess that is a change. But they've changed for the better. These cards now are better than they ever were. So don't let the money factor, dissuade you from keep going and collecting. And honestly, the fact that product is sitting all over the shelves should be great for collectors again, because we don't have to stress about running to the store and beating the next collector or beating the scalper, the investor, whoever for that product, because we know it's going to be there. You want that Steelix illustration rare from Paradox Rift? You have so many means of going and pulling that card now. If you want to just collect it and buy the single, just buy the single too. You could do that. It's fine. It's fine. But that's all I wanted to say. I didn't want to make a huge long video, but I wanted to put it out there because it's been a thing that I was kind of going through for a while, and I had to change my perspective. I had to look at things from a different lens, and now that I see it that way, I'm like, man, I still love collecting Pokemon. It was just the way I saw them had changed. And it changed because of all of those around me. And I kind of started focusing in on what they were doing and what they were saying in like the content creation sphere. All of us that collect, we watch content creation on YouTube and Twitch and Instagram and all these places. And that's what we see being pushed to us all the time is Pokemon TCG is dead. Collecting is dead. The game is dead. Whatever. But that's not necessarily the case. It's people who aren't making money on it anymore are leaving in droves and claiming that the game is dead when the chase is still out there. The hunt is still out there. These cards are better than ever. Go out and get them. That's all I've got, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. We'll see you in the next video.